Take a deep breath, take the higher road. That's what they always say, as if they know the way. They won't take it from me. But don't ever doubt yourself, 'cause life ain't just a dream. You made your own, so kick and scream. The people will act with a never-ending force. You never had the chance, so what you waiting for? The day has come, my friend, 'cause this is war. It's time and this is war.
Today's episode holds a special place in my heart because this week we celebrate Nurses Week. Now I know how it goes. The memes start rolling out, the pizza parties show up, and we get a moment of recognition for going right back into the trenches. But what if this year we did something different? What if instead of just getting through Nurses Week, we used it as a catalyst to prioritize what we've too often placed on the back burner? Ourselves. We are the caregivers, the advocates, the lifelines in the storm. But beneath the scrubs and the stethoscopes, we are human beings with bodies that ache, minds that race, and hearts that carry more than most will ever understand. So this Nurses Week, I challenge you to ask yourself, when was the last time you truly unplugged? Not just a bubble bath or 5 minutes of quiet before the next shift, but a full reset, a deep exhale, a reconnection to your own well-being. Because here's the truth. We can't pour from an empty cup. And the longer we ignore our need for restoration, the harder it becomes to show up for others with the fullness of heart that drew us to this profession in the first place. And that's why today's episode is such a perfect fit for this moment. We're going to talk about rest flow therapy and brainstem entertainment music, modalities that help us unplug from the chaos, recalibrate our nervous systems, and reclaim the peace we so often give away. So if you've been running on empty, if your nervous system is crying out for rest, let's make this Nurses Week the start of something new. This is your permission slip to prioritize you. You're listening to Nurses Out Loud on America Out Loud Talk Radio. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. Before we get started today, I do want to encourage our listeners, if you have questions or comments, or perhaps you want to share your own experiences with what you're seeing on the front lines of healthcare, you can now submit those to us directly by visiting our website at nursesoutloud.com. We would love to hear from you. We encourage all of you to engage in the battle and find your voice in this fight. But until you are able to do that, we will continue to be that voice for you. Joining me today is Steve Rubio, a professional musician, producer, drum instructor, yogi, and float enthusiast. He's a Musicians Institute grad who has been in over 30 bands and performed at over 100 different venues around the world. Despite his roots in rock and roll, Steve has an affinity to meditation music and brainwave entertainment. Blending his background in music composition, sound engineering, and somatic healing to offer a sanctuary for body and mind. He's helped countless individuals, caregivers included, find their way back to center through the power of sensory deprivation and sound therapy. In 2018, he was selected to write and present a TED Talk on a sound frequency at TEDx Skyforest. His passion for natural healing has led him to flotation therapy, and he is currently the assistant manager at True Rest in Franklin, Tennessee. Steve, welcome. Thanks so much for coming on to talk with me today.
Thanks for having me, Kimberly. I'm really honored to be a part of this show.
Absolutely. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. As you know, I'm fairly new to the world of float therapy, which is how you and I met out here at True Rest in Franklin. But before we dive into the science behind float therapy and the sound healing, can you just share a little bit about your personal journey and what led you to explore these alternative modalities?
Well, yeah, so it's really been a natural progression of being a musician for myself, you know, float therapy included, and the brainwave entrainment music, which we'll talk about. You know, I come from a family of musicians. My dad's a drummer, my mom's a singer. I have uncles and aunts and cousins that play. And so I think just growing up, being surrounded by sound and good music, and being influenced by that was really important for me early on.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
with float therapy. So rest float therapy. Um, for those who've never experienced it, I want to kind of just break down what it is. So if you can describe kind of what happens in a float tank and why sensory deprivation is so powerful for the nervous system.
yeah, so I discovered floating maybe 4 or 5 years ago, coming from California, and I fell in love with it right away. And it was something that, I would only do maybe once a year, twice a year. But coming out here to Tennessee, I found True Rest Franklin, and I quickly became one of their more frequent customers because I found that it was helping me. So I come from a place of like, I feel that it's helping me, and then I do the research, and then the science basically backs it up, which is that it helps with anxiety, it helps enhance your creativity, it helps you get a better night's sleep, it helps reduce pain. There's so much that floating in magnesium sulfate, which is just Epsom salts, there's so much benefits, so many benefits from doing that. I'm trying to figure out what it doesn't do, actually.
Right. It is quite relaxing. So I've only, this was my second time. I was just there recently, and that was my second time floating, and I loved it even more than the first time floating.
Good.
But it does help, studies have shown it helps with chronic stress, with trauma, and even the physical pain. But REST, REST stands for Reduced Environmental Stimulation Therapy. Don't we all need a little bit of that? We need
Yes.
unplugging because we are all so just completely overwhelmed, I feel like, with all of the notifications, all of, life has never been simple, but now I feel like we are constantly kind of in fight or flight because we are constantly like staring at a device, or the alarms are going off and the notifications are jinging, and like when do we ever just unplug?
Right. Right. And that's why this is so special, this therapy. You get in this, usually it's a pod, as you know, or sometimes it's a suite that you can walk into. And there's only about 10 inches of salt water. And you couldn't drown if you tried.
Oh, if anybody could drown, it would be me, I'm sure. So I made it. I survived twice, so I think y'all are safe.
But it's you deprive yourself of light and of sound, and really the water is body temperature, so you don't really feel warm or cold. And if you're not touching anything at a certain point, your mind goes within, your body goes within, and there's no distractions anymore. So your body heals quicker and has less interference going on.
Yeah, and I think I am one of those people that really struggles to quiet my mind. My mind is always going, always so much going on up there. So I was a little bit hesitant at first. I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to let go and relax in here. Now, when I went about a year ago, I went on a wellness retreat out to Medellin, Colombia, and um, I had a really wonderful experience out there, and I actually learned a lot about meditation. And I had a nurse out there. I think no, she was a doctor actually. She did a guided regressive meditation with me, and she taught me that technique. So that's actually what I did during my last float therapy session, and I couldn't believe it. It worked.
Wow. And was that like mostly visualizing and meditating, or was it a lot of breath work, or both?
Yeah, I was doing both. I was doing a lot of breath work, and then I was doing regression therapy. Like I was going back to, places and visiting places where I felt safe and secure in my childhood. And I mean, it was absolutely amazing how visually, like how realistic these experiences were for me. I ended up I think I went back to like where I was probably age 2 or 3. Um, to the point where I actually texted my mother after, and I was sitting and I was like, "Did I have a stuffed animal, like a whale or something like that?" that was something that brought me great comfort. And I went back there in my mind. And this is something obviously I haven't thought about. I mean, I'm 48 years old, so that'll tell you something, how far back I was able to go. And yeah, she confirmed that, yeah, I had one that I would just have with me all the time when I was about 2 or 3. So
Wow.
very interesting that I was able to quiet my mind enough to get back in there and do that regressive meditation. So it was very, very calming.
Yeah, for people that aren't regular meditators, I think it's almost like this cheat or a shortcut in a way, without cheating, because you're able to get down to the lower brainwave states, which we'll talk about soon with the brainwave entrainment music, and it relates directly to float therapy. You're able to get down into alpha range and then down in theta, and sometimes even down into the delta, which is, you're pretty much you're asleep and astral traveling if you're down in the delta range.
Yeah. And I think as nurses, we carry a lot, not just physically, but emotionally, we carry a lot of weight. How do you see float therapy helping us, those of us who are nurses or caregivers in this profession, to reset our systems and avoid burnout? Is this something that you would recommend specifically for nurses?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Nurses would definitely benefit from this. You're always on your feet, so there's physically, it helps with pain relief. It helps with blood circulation, muscle recovery. It helps lower your blood pressure. So in high stress environments, when you're always moving, always on the go, always, having to respond, this is a way to, like you said, do the opposite and kind of like shut everything out. But at the same time, you're getting all the benefits of the Epsom salts that are in the water. So it's both mind and body and I can imagine this would be great for, athletes use it. There's so many people that are turning on to floating right now, and have been for the past 30, 40 years.
Yeah, I think I'm so glad I found it. We'll say that. But all right, I do, Steve, I want to geek out for a minute a little bit because I know,
Yeah.
I know my fellow nurses love the science behind, the why. And we've talked about the experience of float therapy and all of this, but I want to get down to like what's really happening physiologically when someone engages in these types of therapies. And one of the reasons that I'm so passionate about sharing this is because they're not just feel good experience, right? These are grounded in measurable biological changes.
Hmm.
Was talking about cortisol reduction. So, when you enter a float tank, your body is freed from gravity and it is completely effortless, y'all. You're just gonna float. You can't help but float with 1,000 pounds of Epsom salts, right?
Right. Yeah.
But all of those, you're freed from gravity, sound, light, all of that. So all of the constant inputs that keep our nervous system in a heightened state. So our bodies are going to begin to downshift from that sympathetic or your fight or flight response into the parasympathetic system, which is our rest and digest. Now, studies have shown that significant drops in cortisol or the stress hormone after these float sessions. So it's critical for anyone that's stuck in chronic stress, especially nurses. I mean, like seriously, cortisol is like our middle name in the professions. But by reducing those cortisol levels, the float therapy really allows us to recalibrate and actually open our bodies and our pathways to begin healing.
Yes. Yep. It's the science is behind it, and that's what the True Rest slogan is the science of feeling great, because it is. People come out feeling great. It's hard not to. You have to get salt in your eye and do some crazy stuff in there for you not to feel great when you come out.
I'll tell you, I did get salt in my eye and I still felt great, but I did. The wonderful thing is to have a little water bottle. So if you're really stupid like me and rock salt in your eye, you can quickly take care of that. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, you were talking about you just feeling great. And why it's happening is we're releasing endorphins. that floating is going to trigger the release of those endorphins. That's our natural, our body's natural painkiller, and it elevates. So that's why many people are going to report this really profound sense of well-being after floating. They feel great because it's kind of similar to that, like a runner's high, but no sweating, right?
Right. It
Sweating?
it helps reduce the lactic acid buildup in your muscles, which helps promote healing. So it's great for pre and post workouts.
That's amazing. Now, would you recommend, and I'm going to throw this out there because, my friend Gina, that she came with me, I introduced her to float therapy, and she was asking me, I don't think it makes much of a difference, but she's like, well, should I take my electrolytes before or after, or does it really make a difference? I don't think in the long run. I mean, I think if you're hydrated, that's going to help you relax more. But
Right.
is there, anything to that? Do you think things like electrolytes or anything like that would be more beneficial to take before or after a float?
That's a great question. I don't really know the answer to that, but I do know that, like, there are a lot of people who will fast beforehand, and that can include, water or not. But, you don't want to be drinking too much of anything before the float anyways, because you're going to be in there for hopefully 60 minutes or longer. But I've noticed if you definitely for floating, you want to avoid caffeine beforehand. You want to avoid sugar. You want to avoid shaving.
Oh,
But
yes,
there's
you do. Yes, you
yeah,
do.
yeah. But as far I think diet wise, I think yeah, if you can fast and go in there, that would probably I haven't done that enough, but I'm sure that would yield more results for you.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on that right now because my last session, I did not fast. We actually went to lunch before. Shout out to Urban Market, who's, I mean, their food is amazing. It's all organic. Love them. But we went and we had a pretty good lunch before. And if you remember, see, when I walked in, I was like, oh my God, I'm miserable. Because
Yeah.
I was so full. I was like, oh, and it really kind of made it a little bit more difficult to actually, relax. I did eventually get there, but yeah, I think if you can go in on an empty stomach, fasting, maybe just drinking some water, some electrolytes, whatever, that's going to be better than going in there with a full gut. That
Definitely.
that really was
Definitely.
a smart idea.
I think for a lot of people though, it's just like can we get you in there? You just got to get yourself in there, right? Because once you get in there, you really understand it. You
Mhm.
really feel it, and you can judge, because we can tell you that it's great and you should do it all you want, but then for someone to go experience this for themselves and feel the difference, then it's very real. And there's a lot of customers who come out feeling pain beforehand, and then afterwards I ask them, hey, how are you feeling? Oh my gosh, the pain in my neck is gone. I can't believe it. And it's a testimony when you come out feeling better, you know.
Oh, absolutely. And I felt 100 times better after getting in that flow therapy. And I think you're right. You just have to kind of get in there and try it because I know for myself, and I'm sure for many other people, they'll be skeptical to start out with because they're like, oh, I'm sure it works for some people, but there's no way it'll work for me because
Hmm.
I can't ever get my mind to shut down. And Gina was the same way, and she absolutely loved it. And both of us were able to get some really restorative, deep relaxation in the float tank. So I think I totally agree with your assessment. Let's get in
Yeah.
and you can worry about the science, like you said earlier, worry about the science end of it later. Get in there and see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
it's not going anywhere.
Hmm. And it's funny because the other day I just felt the need to get in there. I was working, and I shouldn't have gone in there, but I did. I went in for like 10 minutes, and I thought 10 minutes, that's not going to do anything, right? There's a reason why it's 60-minute sessions, and when I've been in there before, I've felt about 20, 30 minutes in, okay, now I'm feeling the effects of the floating. This is doing something. I really like this. So I thought 10 minutes wouldn't do anything, but I'll tell you what, I got out, and even during that 10 minutes, I felt it and got out and felt some good effects after. So, it just takes a little bit of time in there.
Yeah, exactly. It does. It's gonna take time, and it's something new and different, and it's gonna take, it might take one or two sessions before you really start to feel the benefits that are possible. But I would definitely encourage people to stick with it. If you didn't feel anything the first time, it's like anything else. I mean, it's going to take time to see how it's going to work for you. But I mean, you really can.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not just passive relaxation. I mean, it's actually like, I mean, it's actually doing something for you. Um,
totally.
when we look at the magnesium absorption from the Epsom salts, right?
Hmm.
Double win there, because that magnesium, most of us, like much of everything else, we're deficient. A lot of us are magnesium deficient, especially if we are under constant stress. So when we absorb that through the skin in the flow tank, that is one of the most efficient ways to replenish those stores that we are deficient in.
Yeah, we've been using Epsom salts for hundreds of years. Humans have, and it's for healing and injuries and relaxation. So it makes sense that when you put that in there with no lights, no sound, or even with some lights and sound, which I think we could talk about that with the sound healing in a moment here too, because it's like you're in a sound bath sometimes in that float tank. If you get the right music going or some brainwave entrainment music going, water carries sound better than air does. So you're essentially receiving a literal sound bath inside of a bath.
Right, right. So let's shift gears a little bit to talk about this brainstem entertainment music, which is a completely separate modality. But as we were discussing earlier, I mean, it can work very synergistically with the float therapy. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's actually not brainstem entertainment music. I like that though. That's cool. It's brainwave entrainment.
Oh,
Because and
entrainment. So it sure is. I'm like reading it and saying, I don't know what that means, but okay.
brainstem entertainment sounds cool though. It sounds like a
It
production
does.
company for a dance group or
I
something.
totally see that now, but my mind is totally reading it as entertainment. So there you
I
go.
might have to steal that. Yeah.
I like
But brainwave entrainment is where your brainwaves basically, it's called frequency following response, and your brainwaves will naturally follow acoustic or visual stimuli that is presented to it. So, for example, this is we're talking about music here or audio or sound, and when you produce certain tones for the brain or for the ears, the brain waves follow along with whatever that tone is after, about 5 to 6 minutes of listening. So this can be a powerful way to do what we were just talking about in the float pod, which is get your brain waves down to a more relaxed state, down into the low, alpha range, then down into theta, and then the lowest is delta. So alpha is like a meditative state mostly. You're almost falling asleep. Theta is a little lower. You're starting to fall asleep. Maybe you're even asleep. And then delta is where you're totally gone. You're out there. I shouldn't say out there, but you're fast asleep or you're in a very deep meditation. That's what
sounds
that is.
beautiful to me. But yeah,
Yeah.
like I said, that feels like such a beautiful synergy to combine the sensory deprivation with the sound healing. I think that is beautiful. Now, like, so tell me, how is this the I want to say it right this time. Entrainment, entrainment. Uh,
Yes.
how does um, how is doing that different from like just listening to kind of relaxing or calming music?
Well, that's a great question. So, brainwave entrainment music is, well, you could there's brainwave entrainment that happens within music. People will put music on top of these tones. And then there's brainwave entrainment music without the music portion of it. So for the sake of our conversation, we'll just I'll refer to it as brainwave entrainment, and that will mean without the music, because that's kind of what I've been focusing on is using basic just it's basically two tones that are detuned from each other. Many people have probably heard binaural beats,
Yes.
and that so
Yes.
yeah, so binaural beats are a form of brainwave entrainment music, and you have to wear headphones for binaural beats to work. Otherwise, it scientifically doesn't work. But when you listen to binaural beats, that's a form of brainwave. So your brainwaves get entrained to whatever frequency the musician is putting out there, which can be relaxing or they can agitate you. It's really so you do have to be a little bit careful of the music and the tuning that you choose. Most brainwave music you'll be fine, and it'll be down in a relaxed state, but it reminds me of almost like hypnotherapy or something along those lines, where you're nicely forcing, I like to say, the brainwaves down to a more relaxed state, and you sort of have control over the listener's brainwaves, which is powerful.
Right. Well, I think, we're coming up on a break here in just a minute, but when we come back, I really want to kind of talk a little bit more about how we can access these types of brainwave entrainment music and how we can integrate the two of them together. And then I'm going to have a really exciting announcement for my listeners. So I'm super excited to tell them about that, what we discussed earlier. But we've got about maybe like less than a minute before that break. So anything else you want to squeeze in there before we take a little break here?
Yeah, so I would say that if you're searching for music and you're searching for this brainwave music, binaural beats are great, but I also want to talk about, after the break here, we're going to talk about monaural beats. And the reason why monaural beats are so great is because you don't need headphones. So we'll learn more about that here in a second.
Excellent. Thank you. America Out Loud Talk Radio plays on the iHeartRadio network. You can also listen on our media player from any web browser, anywhere in the world. We have the best in-class apps available on Apple, Android, or Alexa, 24/7 Great Talk Radio. All of our shows will be podcast the following day. You can hear them on apps such as Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, iHeart Podcasts, and many more. Be sure to subscribe and rate the show on Apple Podcasts for me. Don't forget to check out our online store at americaoutloud.shop, where you can find all of the products that we represent on our network at a discounted rate, including an incredible line of products from Chemical Free Body. Unlike the majority of supplements you'll find on the market today, with Chemical Free Body, you won't have to worry about harmful ingredients, binders, fillers, or flow agents. Their ultra-safe breakthrough nanosilver technology destroys pathogens, balances the microbiome, and boosts immunity. All of these products are proudly made in the USA and are backed by an unheard of double your money back guarantee. I've made a twice daily Green 85 drink part of my routine, which has led to a decrease in belly bloat and an increase in my energy throughout the day. Use promo code OUTLOUD to save 20% off the Healthy Gut Bundle. I'll catch you on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
Your heart is the most crucial muscle in your body. Are you doing enough to keep it strong? Introducing the Wellness Company's Breakthrough Healthy Heart Formula, designed by Dr. Peter McCullough, now upgraded with taurine. This daily supplement supports cardiovascular health and works to protect cells against oxidative stress. Packed with D-ribose to boost heart function, taurine to help maintain heart and muscular health, coenzyme Q10 and selenium citrate to help reduce risk of cardiac disease, and a vitamin B complex with L-carnitine for energy and muscle support. Endorsed by the Wellness Company's Chief Medical Board, this formula is your ally for heart health. Reclaim your health now at twc.health/OUTLOUD and use code OUTLOUD for 20% off your first order plus free shipping.
In just 2 minutes per day, you could reclaim your health and cut your grocery bill in half with one simple, convenient product. Our doctor-formulated Green 85 juice formula's powerful dose of ultra-concentrated essential nutrients stops hunger in its tracks and supplies your cells with what's missing in the grocery store food. Go to chemicalfreebody.com/OUTLOUD today. Get nature's super multivitamin Green 85, empower your immune system, cut down on your grocery bill, and Save 20% on your first order.
Don't accept joint aches and stiffness as part of aging. Doctors at Advanced Nutrition Company, Healthy Cell, created joint health and mobility to support connective tissue, joint lubrication, and reduce joint irritation with curcumin, omega-3, chondroitin, glucosamine, and hyaluronic acid for joint comfort and flexibility. And Healthy Cell's not a pill, it's a gel you swallow. Get 100% drug-free joint support. Go to healthycell.com and use code OUTLOUD for 25% off your first order. That's healthycell.com, code OUTLOUD.
You wouldn't go a day without brushing your teeth or washing your hands. What about washing your nose? I mean, your nose does filter the air you breathe, air loaded with bacteria, viruses, and irritants. Make nasal hygiene part of your routine with Clear. No messy bottles to fill, no drowning sensation. Clear is a natural drug-free saline with the added benefit of xylitol, which blocks bacterial and viral adhesion. Available in stores and online at clear.com. That is XLEAR.com.
Well, it's high time Americans refuse to be pawns in the human chess game. Under the name of diversity, politicians divide the people in their quest for power. Well, diversity of opinion and expression is as American as apple pie. Now is our time, my fellow Americans. AmericaOutloud.news. Liberty and justice for all.
Welcome back to Nurses Out Loud on America Out Loud Talk Radio. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. Wherever you're listening from today and whatever you're doing, I thank you for giving the gift of your time. Be sure to make AmericaOutloud.news your daily stop for all the latest news and happenings. We all must do our part and share the stories, the articles, the podcasts, and videos so we can help secure America's future. If you're just joining us, I've been talking with musician and float enthusiast, Steve Rubio. Let's jump right back in. Steve, thanks again for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm excited. I love talking about floating. So I love talking
Yes.
about
Yes.
the relaxation of sound therapy is really, these are things that I am kind of new to. But as somebody who pretty much lives in constant fight or flight, it is something I am embracing, with open arms. So thank you so much for allowing me to help share this with my listeners, who I know most nurses are pretty much wired the same. So this is going to be very, very helpful in celebration of Nurses Week. So
Yes.
we were talking a little bit about the Brainwave Entrainment music, and you were talking about binaural beats, and you wanted to kind of shift gears and tell us why mononaural beats are so important.
Well, yeah. So, the monaural beats, again, are another form of brainwave entrainment, but they're really, it's, a lot of this is not studied as much as it should be, especially monaural beats. So it's relatively new territory, even though it's a pretty simple concept and, the idea has been around for a while. But, with binaural beats, you have to wear headphones or it's not going to work. The music might sound nice or you might like the tone that's being produced, but scientifically, it's not doing anything. With monaural beats, you don't have to wear headphones. You can if you want to, which to me opens up a whole world of possibilities because, if you're at a yoga class, are you going to hand out 20 pairs of headphones? Probably not. If you're in a sound bath, you can't do that. Float tank, you're probably not wearing headphones in the float tank.
Yeah, that was my next question. Can we wear headphones for coaching? I was just trying to think how we're going to make that work. So.
I mean, if they're waterproof or if you use that extra thick neck pillow and get your ears up out of the water. But, the monaural beats open it up, especially like when you're trying to sleep. I personally don't want to be wearing headphones when I go to sleep. I'd rather have it on a device, a Bluetooth speaker or something else that's producing this tone that could potentially enable anyone that has trouble falling asleep. It could enable them to fall asleep within 10 minutes. It has the potential to do that, which is pretty powerful when you don't have to take a drug to fall asleep, right?
Exactly. And that, because we all know that, if you go to a doctor and say, listen, I can't sleep, they're not going to tell you about this brainwave entrainment therapy. They're not going to tell you about that. They're going to give you a prescription for Ambien, which is a horrible and dangerous drug. So But that's what happens every time is they will go for the prescription pad. They won't go for these alternative therapies.
Right. And it's mostly chemical based, right? From Western medicine, it's a lot of chemical stuff. And we are human beings are we you know we're chemically driven, but we're more so, I would say, electronically driven. We're more so, everything's frequency, everything's based on vibration, and essentially that is sound. Vibration is sound waves. So we're using these natural holistic modalities that are working with our bodies instead of potentially changing the chemical composition or adjusting how our brain works or how our body functions. It's aligning with the frequencies of our body and our brain, and enabling our body to do what it does, which is heal itself.
Right. Now, can you share, do you have any maybe like stories that you can share? Obviously, if there's anybody that has experienced a really profound shift by using these types of therapies.
Yeah, so I've used them in sound baths. I've used them the monaural beats. I've used Brainwave Entrainment. I've used tuning forks. I could share a story real quick. So I did get asked to do a sound bath for the Big Bear Yoga Festival a few years ago in California, and it was the largest sound bath I've ever done. There was probably 20 to 25 people, and I had my tuning forks. I like to incorporate those, which are, you ding it and a certain tone is projected at the sound, at whoever's there, So I did that, and I hit the tuning fork each time on each person. I only had time to do one ding for each person. And, I got some good feedback. But on the way leaving that event, I had a friend who said, "Hey, can you come over? Like, my knee's really hurting." And she had actually been sort of attacked by an ex-boyfriend or something, and she got hit in the knee. And this was months before, but she was still having knee pain. So I said, "Yeah, I'll come over and I'll, try the tuning forks on you. Why not? I have them with me." And when I went over, I used the tuning fork around her kneecap. And if you've ever done this with a tuning fork, I would say whether you're a musician or not, if you're doing it right and you feel it, it'll feel like a magnet's pushing against your tuning fork in certain specific areas around the body. These are basically areas of stress or tension or tightness or trauma that the body holds in its electromagnetic field, which surrounds the body in six feet in every direction, basically. So I was finding these pockets of dissonance around her kneecap, and I kept dinging the tuning fork until I didn't feel that magnetic push or pull anymore. And, I thought, okay, she's going to sleep a little better. She might feel some pain relief for tonight. And the next day she texted me and said, "Hey, my knee doesn't hurt anymore. It's amazing. All the pain's gone."
I'm going to have to come see you again, Steve, and I'm going to need you to bring your tuning fork.
Yeah, yes.
You're going to have to be dinging the heck out of that thing over me because I am. But I'll tell you, interesting, I've only had the sound bath, and I had one experience with that. They actually did this during when I was in Colombia. They did, we had the shaman that came in, and they were doing a cacao ceremony. I don't know if you've ever participated in one. But the purpose obviously is to connect and kind of open your heart. And while I was, on this journey, and most of my listeners know that I have experienced some trauma in the last couple of years. And when I was in Colombia, that was actually the first time that I was able to really get this deep connection and really open myself up and allow. It was actually the first time doing breath work that I was able to shift from fight or flight and trigger my parasympathetic system. I swear to you, Steve, I have not triggered the sympathetic system for at least 2 or 3 years at that point because of, the fight for medical freedom that I have been in and everything that has happened since 2020 when I left the ICU with everything that was happening. And And this, huge fight that I took on, I just felt like my body never relaxed. I never got out of fight or flight and was just in constant fight or flight. Now, I was doing some breath work over there, and I had such a profound breakthrough through, it was the Soma, if you're familiar with it, the Soma breath work.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, I had not felt that much relaxation in years. I mean, I was so emotional. I was overcome with emotion actually during that breakthrough. But similarly, during that same trip, when they did the sound bath and they used the bowl and the tuning fork and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I just had like it was as if my subconscious mind really connected to my heart, and it really allowed me to feel emotions that I had been suppressing for a long time.
Yeah, and that could be subconscious, it could be conscious, and years of it there's a doctor, her name is Eileen McCusick, and she wrote a book called Tuning the Human Biofield. And she has a theory that we store these traumatic events, well, not necessarily all bad, but we store our memories of our life in this biofield around us, which is why there are those pockets of energies. And they directly relate to things like you're talking about, like, dealing with a stressful job or having something major happen in your life or getting into a car accident or losing a loved one. And there's a timeline in this biofield through, that holds these dissonant memories. And so what you're talking about, doing breath work and cacao and having these powerful holistic things happen to you, you're processing that dissonance. You're making what's the word? You're making harmony with those brain waves and your biofield, which is electromagnetic waves as well.
Yeah, it was so amazing, and like I said, it was a really overwhelming experience for me, but it was so necessary and so needed for me to kind of downshift into that rest and digest, because I was just in constant fight or flight, and there's only so long that your body can sustain that type of stuff. I mean, if we not able to downshift and get out of that state, which can, I'm 48, I'm like ready for a coronary over here. So it's prime time, right? So it's really, really can help to get us into that better area. So tell me about, is this something that you do, like as far as like the sound bath and things like that? Is that a service that you offer people here locally, or how does somebody do about that?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So I recently moved here from California, and I'm, sort of just been collecting sounds and perfecting what I do, getting these brainwave entrainment tracks ready. And, normally I'll collaborate with a yoga studio. So I just have yet to do that, but I do offer private sound baths. I love doing it. I think it's a very powerful way to help people heal themselves, actually, is how I think of it. I don't think of it as I'm healing you, or even that the music is healing you. I think of it as, the sound is working in harmony with your body, which is then doing what it should do, which is healing you.
Exactly. We have that innate ability to heal. We just have to really remind ourselves that we have that innate ability to heal and open ourselves up to it. So how long is the sound bath session? How long is a typical session?
Typically an hour is good. I like to do 75 minutes if or 90 if possible. It starts off with some breath work and progresses into some music. I like to loop things and walk around with rain sticks and, incorporate tuning forks towards the end, and then have a period of silence, because I think silence is important too. And, wrapping it all up. So it's just a nice, if you've never experienced a sound bath, yeah, I'd love to hear from you. Maybe we can give out my email or something.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We'll include that in the show notes. So anybody that wants to connect with Steve, especially particularly if you are local to the Tennessee area, which he's in, are you in Franklin in that area?
Yeah, Franklin, Nashville. I mean, even north of Nashville, Ashland City. Like I'm all around. So
Okay, great.
yeah.
Now, what about, that's fantastic for people who are here. Is there anything that you can do? Can you do any of this work remotely?
I think remotely I'm working on just putting out those brainwave entrainment tracks, and so I'm going to be releasing those this probably this year, and that way people can download these tracks and listen to them at home or anywhere they'd like to. I found that the remote, there's I'm so attentive and to detail, and I'm just so quality driven that like for me, doing a sound bath virtually, it loses, some of its appeal and its sound quality. I'm not about that, but in person, definitely. And then, getting these really high quality tracks to people, I think is going to be, I look at it as like medicine. So I'm trying to get this medicine ready for people to take, you know.
Yeah, and I think all of it sounds absolutely amazing. And I think, there's definitely some area, maybe, there's some potential opportunity for collaboration between what you're doing and what we're building at Remnant Healthcare. So I'd definitely love to talk with you more about that and see if, there's some, way we can work together and help get.
Oh, I would love that. I would love that. Yes.
I think that would be an amazing something to be able to offer to some of our listeners.
Yeah, and one thing real quick, Kimberly, I use like a very special tuning. A lot of people do sound baths, and it's all great, but there's these alternative tunings that I've been exploring, and from what I gather and all the research I've done, there's a better way to tune your instruments than basically what everyone's using. And so the instruments that I use are in a very special tuning called A432. And so, apparently that does more healing than the other tunings.
Very, very interesting. Now,
Yeah.
so that you do private sessions, but you can do group sessions as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I like to do group sessions. I think I meant like private group sessions, but yeah, privately with one-on-one is fine too. I mean, if it's one-on-one, you get the full treatment with the tuning forks, and sometimes I'll use like a quartz crystal and ding the tuning fork, and it amplifies the vibration into your body. It feels great.
This is amazing. Like, my wheels are already turning, right? And I'm already like planning out like, maybe the next girls' night. Maybe we can hire you to come and do the sound bath. On our next kind of when I get together with Gina and all the girls, Danielle and Carrie and everybody. Maybe we can have you come and do a sound bath. I think that would be pretty amazing.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love that.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm all about relaxation and getting kind of out of this just chaotic. I mean, it's just all chaos, right? The whole world is all chaos. So any
Yeah,
get a break from this crazy world, we should be taking it.
Yeah, there have been some people who have said, "Oh, the float therapy's not going anywhere," blah blah blah. And it's like, really? I think of it as, okay, the more and more chaotic this world gets,
Yeah,
the more and more people are going to be turning to nothingness.
yeah, yeah. You're right, and I mean,
And that's what float therapy is. It's you're paying for nothing if you think about it. Like
right,
that's the funny thing.
exactly. You're not lying right there, but I mean,
Like, where else can you be in total silence, total darkness, and you don't feel hot or cold, and you're just totally relaxed? I mean, I can only think of a few places on Earth that actually happens. Maybe the Dead Sea or the Salton Sea, or out in the desert somewhere. I've been out in the desert; it's been so quiet and peaceful. But other than that, that's what you're getting, that hour of stillness and nothingness, and that's what meditation is, and that's where all the magic happens.
oh, exactly. And so many people really struggle with meditation and all of that and letting your mind go and relax. So I think that these are really wonderful ways. Like you said, just try it. You would maybe surprised. I was completely shocked that I would be able to relax to the point that I had. So you might surprise yourself.
Right. And even if you are in there with your thoughts and your mind is racing, I really think of it as like, don't fight yourself. Maybe you needed to think those thoughts. Maybe you needed to have a float where you processed all of those things so that the next float you come in and most of it's already, taken care of.
I think that's true too, because other than my relaxing and my, you get an hour. So, I mean, I think some of it was with the meditation, but another part of that was that I started having a lot of clarity and like ideas of things that I wanted to do with Remnant and, doing the promotion. I was like, oh, I know that this is what I want to do. So I started thinking those things through, but with a different level of clarity. It was like it shut out all of the other noise and let me
Right.
really be clear and focus on these things that are going to be beneficial to me and to what I'm doing and my mission.
And then, scientifically, that's probably your brain getting down into those alpha ranges and the theta. And then it's helping enhance your creativity and think about these things in a different way.
Absolutely. And I'm going to definitely, I want to just really quickly ask you a little bit. We talked just a little bit about it, but I know that some folks, especially particularly in Western medicine, in the medical field or mainstream medicine, are going to be very skeptical of modalities like this, right?
Hmm.
How do you address that?
I think just stick to the science of it, of like, it's proven to, and help you be more relaxed and release lactic acids and all the, get down into those brainwave states. There's been so much research in this. Dr. John C. Lilly he built the first sensory or designed the first tank in 1954 and then started doing experiments in there, with or without psychedelic drugs. But basically, that's been going on since the 60s. So if you can imagine 60 years of that and it's still around and it's getting more popular, it's not fake if it's been around for 60 years and it's getting more popular and people swear by it. So I would say just try it and see if you like it. And even if you don't like it, it's going to help you.
Oh, absolutely. And, so you work at True Rest in Franklin. They do have True Rest centers all over, don't they? All over the country.
Yeah, there's True Rest everywhere. So check it out. You can get in for your first time. There's usually a first time deal, and it's just we only have one in Tennessee here. So if you want to come to the one in Franklin, come check it out. But yeah, throughout the East Coast, there's some on the West Coast, Arizona, and it's just a good place to be.
And that's what I was going to tell you. That exciting announcement is they're actually working on a promo for Nurses Week, and this is your first. I'm going to tell you about this real quick here, and then we're going to get this promo shaped up for Nurses Week, where I am actually going to offer one of our local nurses here in Tennessee the opportunity to come with me to the True Rest and to have a float session. With your membership, you can actually share your membership with people and they can float under your membership. So I am going to do that. I'm going to offer a local nurse. If you will join our PMA at Remnant Healthcare, which our plan started just $30 a month. If you become a new member during Nurses Week, you are automatically going to be entered into the drawing to be selected to do that free float with me on True Rest in Franklin. And I'm also going to include after the float, by the way, lunch at Urban Market, not before the float, but after the float. You'll go enjoy an incredible meal of nice, healthy, organic food over at Urban Market over there in Franklin. So really excited.
Wow.
Promotion shaped up and underway, and really excited to see and share this experience with one of my sister or brother nurses in the field, because I it's just incredible, and I want to be able to share that with so many.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I love that because that's what happens is it's just such a word of mouth thing. Float therapy is, it's like you get in there and you love it. So you go tell all your friends and family.
Yes,
And then,
exactly. I've told my patients about it. I work, I'm a hospice nurse, and I speak to some of my patients about this as well. I'm like, I think this is such a beautiful and wonderful thing. Maybe for some of these patients that are in hospice who, are still able to get out into the community, this is something really just beautiful that they can experience. So I've been telling them about it. I've been telling all of the nurses, pretty much anyone who will listen. I've been talking about the float therapy for quite some time. But so what are
yeah.
we talked about True Rest. I'm going to go ahead and make sure
Mhm.
linking all of that information in our show notes that will accompany this episode when it goes to podcast. So
Great.
we'll make sure we include contact info for you, Steve, as well as some information about the I'm going to say it right, Brainwave Entrainment.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to include all of that in
Wonderful.
anything else that you want to share with us before I could tell you those hours go by really quickly.
I know that was fun. Yeah, no, I think we covered it. It's beautiful that, you can get in the pod, you can listen to music, you can, it can be brainwave entrainment or not. But the fact is all of this is super related because you're just getting down into those more relaxed states of your body and your mind where then it just heals itself. So it's a wonderful, both of these things that we talked about, brainwave entrainment and float therapy, are just wonderful ways to holistically heal yourself without having to, go to the doctor or take a drug or, have surgery.
Right, exactly. And we're all about holistic here. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for sharing your knowledge and your passion with us today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me, Kimberly. I'm really excited to be on the show.
Absolutely. So to my listeners, if you've been feeling depleted, if your nervous system is waving that white flag, it is probably a good sign that it's time to unplug and have a float. So again, I'll be linking those resources in the show notes that will accompany this episode, where you can find a float center and these music recommendations from Steve. And that is all the time that we have for today, friends. But remember, we are here on the air 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern with a different nurse host daily. You can also catch the encore at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please be sure to tune in and listen to myself and these courageous nurses. As we walk you through all of these hot topics, we will empower you with information and education. We will advocate and we will stand in the gap for you because we are nurses and this is what we do. I'm your host, Nurse Kimberly Overton. You can find me here every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. Until next time, be safe, be well, and God bless. Remember, we are in a war for truth. We are putting out a bounty on the real misinformation and exposing the purveyors of propaganda. No topic is off limits as we shine our light and expose the darkness.